Why, hello there. Welcome to the long-delayed episode 118 of Dank Times, Danker Thoughts with me, Angelo. Don't really know why it took me so long to record another episode. I just wasn't in the mood. Certainly, you guys can empathize with me a little bit. Sometimes you just don't feel like doing something that you, at one time or another, enjoyed. And that was me for this podcast. It could have been the news. It could have been family stuff. It could have been personal stuff. Fuck if I know, but I just didn't feel like recording the last week and a half. So we have a lot to catch up on. This is going to be a news-heavy episode, but I'm going to try to quickly get through about 8 stories or so. Not much is going on with me personally. I've gone out a few more times with that Middle Eastern lady friend of mine, although it's starting to get a little stale. We haven't seen each other in about a week. We've been canceling on each other, and I don't know, I'm not feeling much. We haven't had relations or anything, and I'm debating if I even want to because, I don't know, I don't want to send her the wrong messages. So if and when we do see each other again, and she's over here, for example, I'll bring that up. I'll let her know, my body's telling me, yeah, but my heart and brain are saying, well, maybe we should talk about things before we bump uglies because I don't want to give her the wrong impression. I don't want to lead her on. So it is what it is. I'm still out there. I'm still out there hustling, so to speak. And there's not really much out there on the dating apps. So I'm hoping again, now that I'm going back into the office once or twice a week and I'm going out a little bit more, that maybe I'll just meet a lady in person because I'm about done with these goddamn dating apps. So I don't really have anything new to add there. So let's dive right in with the happy news stories. But first, before I get into the news stories, I did want to read a nice meme that I found a couple weeks ago, and I've just been waiting for the right time to talk about it, and I really haven't found it, so I said, fuck it, let's read it now. If you are not a scientist, and you disagree with scientists about science, it's actually not a disagreement. You're just wrong. Science is not truth. Science is finding the truth. When science changes its opinion, it didn't lie to you. It just learned more. And I couldn't agree more. So whenever I tell people that, well, science agrees with me because of Durka, lately I've been trying to say, but however, that can change, and therefore my opinion will change along with it. I don't consider that flip-flopping. If you believe in something because the science, the data, the facts, the experts all say that something is true, and then it changes because new information becomes available and you change your opinion, don't let people call you a flip-flopper or a bullshitter or that, oh God, you change your opinions all the time. Well, that's good. That's what you should do. Stubborn cunts are the ones that never change their opinion, and that when new data is available, they just ignore it. I mean, if you want to be a boomer, be a boomer. That's their calling card, but I'd like to think the more intelligent people on this planet, at least in this country, they will, quote-unquote, flip-flop their opinions when new data or new science becomes available. So go fuck yourself if you're giving people a hard time when they change their opinions because something new comes to light. But okay, I got that out of the way. Let's get the update on that tragic, horrible, awful, just demonic, mentally debilitating story about that 10-year-old rape victim that had to flee Ohio to get an abortion in Indiana. I should not have been surprised, but I was shocked and appalled that I shouldn't say mostly, but all of the people that were pushing back on it, that were saying that story probably isn't true, it's misinformation, it's just outright lies, were mostly Republicans. Some people in the press, mind you, said, well, we can't really say that this is true or not until more information comes to light. And then when it did, they said, okay, well, now that it's true. But I just couldn't believe that people just outright said this is bullshit right away, without even investigating it. And I'm talking pointedly at the journalists and the politicians who were saying that this is all fake news. There is no 10-year-old rape victim, blah, blah, blah. And now it's been verified multiple times. So then you would have thought that at least the elected officials that were backlashing against this story would then apologize or do something. Well, not the cocksuckers in Indiana. Indiana doctor who treated 10-year-old rape victim facing intense backlash. In 2022 America, surprising. The Indiana doctor who provided an abortion to a 10-year-old rape victim last month has endured vitriol and threats to her safety and career for her role in the case that drew the White House's attention. Dr. Caitlin Bernard's lawyer sent a cease and desist letter Friday to Indiana's Republican Attorney General Todd Rokita over false and misleading statements he made about Bernard on Fox News. I mean, how disgusting. This is an attorney general. He goes on Fox News, and it's going to tell you on the story, but just, I'm frothing at the mouth and fucking anger. If I ever meet this Todd Rokita, I'm going to treat him like a speed bump. Bernard's ordeal underscores the backlash abortion providers can face in the aftermath of the Supreme Court overturning Roe v. Wade, even if they comply with laws in their respective states. Bernard was at the center of an Indianapolis Star story about the child who could not receive the procedure in Ohio because of its approval of a so-called fetal heartbeat law, which limits access to abortion to the first 6 weeks of pregnancy. Ohio's law does not include a carve-out for rape survivors or victims of child abuse. Yes, because they don't treat people as people. They treat them as commodities. They treat them as livestock, if you will. Women are not humans in the state of Ohio, and really 22 other states in this country. State and national Republicans and conservative editorial boards and broadcasters sharply criticized the Star's reporting and sought to cast doubt on the story's veracity and Bernard's credibility. Now, for those of you that need to get smarter, veracity basically means accuracy. It's truth. This week, an Ohio man, Garrison Fuentes, was arrested and charged with raping the child. Fuentes confessed when police confronted him after a police report was filed about the incident. He is now facing life in prison. Rokita, that a cocksucker attorney general, said that the day he was gathering evidence to determine whether Bernard failed to report performing the procedure, a requirement under Indiana law. It's a crime to not report, to intentionally not report, he said. After his cable news appearance, Rokita's office doubled down in a statement that questioned whether Bernard had violated privacy laws by sharing information about the case. Indiana University Health, Bernard's employer, said the doctor did not violate any laws and had cooperated with its review of the matter. Bernard's lawyer, Kathleen Delaney, told Rokita that his statements had cast her client in a false light, even as evidence had emerged that Bernard had not broken any laws. We are especially concerned that given the controversial political context of the statements, such inflammatory accusations had the potential to incite harassment or violence from the public, which could prevent Dr. Bernard, an Indiana licensed physician, from providing care to her patients safely, the letter stated. And it's even worse than this. This cocksucker Rokita went on Fox News and was talking about how this doctor is some kind of abortion heroine. She's such a strong supporter of abortion, it clouds her judgment, and maybe she shouldn't be a doctor because she holds abortion rights so highly. I mean, people of Indiana, don't be an abomination to this country. We have plenty of states that are picking that up just fine. But I may have been speaking too lately because it sure seems like Indiana's doing away with their abortion rights. I mean, it's so sad. It is so sad, people. And just talking about the story again reminds me why I haven't recorded a podcast in some time. It's because I didn't feel like doom scrolling the news. Because that's all I'm seeing these days. I try to find good stories to uplift me. And I find some every now and then. But good Christ, people. Good Christ. And you're not hearing the coverage in the media about the Democratic lawmakers that are getting death threats. Camila Jayapal, she is from, I believe she's a senator from Washington. She lives in Seattle. She had to call the police on a guy who came to her residence and said he was going to kill her. But all the attention, it seems to be on Kavanaugh and the Supreme Court justices, which, hey, perfect, great. There is a community out there that are paying people $250 if they give updates where the Supreme Court justices are, like where they're eating, where they're lounging, wherever, and then they can get protested. I mean, that's perfect. That is what we need. But why are people going out to the house of a Democrat lawmaker who's trying to make the country better? Now, do I like everything Jayapal does? Fuck no. In fact, she really ruffles my feathers a lot of the time. But come on, people. If you're going to camp outside an elected politician's office, surely pick the elected official that's taking away abortion rights, taking away equality rights, taking away voting rights. I mean, come on. Even our potential assassinators are fucking retarded. I mean, come on. This is getting ridiculous. Oh, God, how I would hope the conservative justices come to the West Coast to get away from it all and then... Well, they're not... although I can't say that with a straight face. I can't imagine conservative Supreme Court justices ever coming to the West Coast again, because they know what's awaiting them here. But enough about the Supreme Court and about rape victims that are 10 years old and how half of the country's backsliding into Handmaid's Tale apocalyptic world. Well, I take that back. We do have another Supreme Court justice story. I just had to get out of that 10-year-old rape victim story. I just get so fucking enraged when I read about anything related to that story. So the next story, it's not going to go anywhere. It means well. Their aim is true, but this ain't going to pass. I'd be surprised if this passes the House, let alone the Senate. It's not even going to sniff success in the Senate. But House Democrats tout a bill to add 4 more seats to the Supreme Court. See what I'm saying? It ain't going to go anywhere. A group of House Democrats called for legislation that would add 4 seats to the Supreme Court, lamenting an ultra-right-wing branch that just overturned the Roe v. Wade decision on abortion rights. The 8 lawmakers cited recent Supreme Court decisions that rolled back Miranda rights, threw out a New York gun control law, and allowed religion to surface in schools, as well as the Dobbs v. Jackson women's health decision that overturned the right to abortion in Roe, and saying that there was need to add new justices to the court. Representative Hank Johnson from Georgia, the lead sponsor of the 2021 Judiciary Act, called the current makeup a Supreme Court at crisis with itself and with our democracy, where basic freedoms are under assault from the 6-3 conservative supermajority on the bench. The Supreme Court isn't susceptible to the popular vote the way Congress is, Johnson said, and it has used the fact to amass power. It's making decisions that usurp the power of the legislative and executive branches, he continues. Facing Republican opposition and some Democratic skepticism, the bill has little chance of becoming law, but it illustrates the deep anger among progressive Democrats about the court's direction under 3 conservative justices nominated by former President Trump: Gorsuch, Kavanaugh, Coney Barrett. Those 3 justices have radically altered the direction of the court, which now has twice as many conservative justices as liberal ones. Kavanaugh replaced Anthony Kennedy, a previous swing vote who had been nominated to the court by a Republican, while Barrett replaced liberal Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Adding to Democrat anger, a GOP Senate blocked former President Obama's last nominee to the court, Merrick Garland, who is now the Attorney General. Gorsuch ended up being nominated to the court in place of Garland. Introduced last year, the Judiciary Act has not progressed in Congress. So this is what I'm talking about. I'm all for expanding the court, but I can understand how the old dinosaurs that are ruling this country scoff at such a notion. I would also be okay with having a coup and having the conservative justices executed on pay-per-view, and the money that was raised on that would go towards wiping out student loan debt, maybe legalizing marijuana, using that for reparations, any number of things. Any money that's fundraised by the execution of traitorous scum like the conservative justices, I'm right there with you. But to continue the good news, because this actually did happen, this is going to have lingering consequences, unlike the last story, which is just wishful thinking. The Senate GOP fundraising flop. Top Senate Republican candidates turned in poor fundraising numbers in key races from Arizona to New Hampshire. It's as if big GOP donors either don't realize a Senate majority is in reach or wrongly think it's a sure thing. And it's clear they don't like a lot of the Trumpy candidates. Democratic Senate candidates are posting blockbuster hauls, whereas Republicans could be surfing a tidal wave of discontent about the country and President Biden's approval rating, which stands at 39%, although I saw 36% today. In Arizona, the leading Republican candidate, Blake Masters, raised just $827,000 in the quarter to $13.6 million for Senator Mark Kelly, the Democratic incumbent. Another GOP candidate, Jim Lamon, brought in $1.2 million, and $1 million of that was his own money. In Pennsylvania, another underwhelming fundraising tally from a big-time GOP Senate candidate, Dr. Oz, that cunt, raised $1.6 million in the latest fundraising report and put in $2.2 million of his own money. And I'm sure a lot of that $1.6 million came from those New Jersey mobsters that are bankrolling his campaign. Dr. Jaws ended June with $1.1 million cash on hand, whereas his opponent, Democratic John Fetterman, who I hope one day will become the president, and despite his absence from the trail following his stroke, raised over $10 million. And in New Hampshire, Senator Maggie Hassan raised $5.07 million to just $538,000 for her leading GOP challenger, State Senate President Chuck Morse. However, Herschel Walker in Georgia and Adam Laxalt in Nevada had strong quarters. Herschel Walker raised $6.2 million. I'm surprised he can count that high with that CTE of his. And I don't know who this Adam Laxalt is in Nevada, $2.8 million, but that's probably a Vegas money there. So, but the bigger picture here is, people, for the last, year, everybody that's in politics has been saying the GOP are going to slaughter the Democrats, not only in the House, but also in the Senate. And then those Supreme Court right-wing Taliban justices offered the Democrats on a silver platter a potential win by canceling abortion rights. And so you have seen a massive swing in the opposite direction, whereas now the Democrats are raising money like crazy. And it's shitty that they have to use abortion rights for fundraising because, little side rant here, but I would say since the year 2000, or 1999, I think that was the Bush-Gore election, I have been told in the last 20 years, give or take, that every single presidential election I have to vote because America's freedom is about ready to go away, or dictatorship from Trump is right around the corner. Russia is going to take over. China is going to take over. You have to vote freedom. And I've been told this for over 20 years. And so you know what? I did vote for Kerry. I did vote for Obama twice. And I voted for Hillary. And I voted for Biden. And you know what? Shit has only gotten worse. So it's pretty goddamn terrible that the only way the Democrats may eke out a win in the Senate, I think the House is lost, is by pleading with Americans yet again that for the love of God, if you don't vote for us, there won't be an America in a couple years. Okay, so we vote you in, what are you going to do about it? Well, we're not going to do anything. We're not as bad as the Republicans, but, I mean, come on, we're the lesser of two evils. Just give us a 69th chance here. It's disgusting. I've said it once, I've said it again. We need at least 3 more political parties in this country. But if you're a Democrat or if you're a progressive, even if you're a moderate, this Senate GOP fundraising flop should be music to your ears, because that means the country has had enough, for the most part, of these right-wing evangelical Taliban, Al-Qaeda wing of the Republican Party. And the only people that can fuck it all up are the Democrats, which they are really good at fucking shit up like this. But I choose to hold out hope because the GOP has people like this running for election. House Republican removed as third-party candidate in New York governor's race. Well, why is that? The gubernatorial campaign of U.S. Representative Lee Zeldin, not Zelda, Zeldin, submitted roughly 13,000 invalid signatures in an effort to appear on the ballot as a third-party candidate. Zeldin, an ally of President Trump, gained national prominence as one of the House Republicans who voted against the certification of the 2020 presidential election results. So he's also a traitor and a coward and spineless, and his mouth is a human toilet. After pushing conspiracy theories about election fraud, his political opponents say his campaign's actions amount to hypocrisy. Yeah, and again, I'm a broken record here, but I've read a few stories over the last few months about Republicans investigating voter fraud, and the only results they are finding is that voter fraud truly has been committed, but it's all Republican. They have found zero evidence of any progressive or any Democrats, to my knowledge, that had voter fraud. It's all Republican. And most of the Republicans are Trump supporters, like this cocksucker Lee Zeldin. Zeldin won New York's Republican primary for governor last month, but he was seeking to have his name appear on an additional line of the ballot as a candidate of the Independence Party. Zeldin's campaign submitted roughly 52,000 signatures by the filing deadline, but the board ruled this week that about 13,000 of them were invalid. That left him 6,000 short of the threshold. Boo-hoo! New York's Libertarian Party initiated the challenge to Zeldin's signature, saying in a release that 11,000 of them were photocopies, a violation, according to a press release. Wow, the Libertarians actually did something right, besides bitching and moaning. Let's not forget, Lee Zeldin was one of the many far-right Republicans who voted to overturn the 2020 election under the guise of election fraud, a dangerous conspiracy theory peddled by Donald Trump and his pawns in Congress, said Jay Jacobs, chair of the state's Democratic Party. Now, Zeldin submitted 11,000 fake signatures, just emphasizes his hypocrisy and proves he is willing to sell New Yorkers another big lie to benefit his failing campaign. On the other side, Katie Vincenz, a spokesperson for Zeldin's campaign, said it hadn't reviewed all the signatures submitted. Of course, we didn't know. So, as long as GOP keep putting up candidates like that scumbag douchebag, the Democrats have a motherfucking chance. But let's take a break before I dive into some more hard-hitting news stories. California Governor Gavin Newsome is positioning himself and his state as a national leader on climate issues amid speculation of a possible 2024 White House bid. Now, my opinion on Gavin Newsome has always been and remains that he is a smug, elitist douchebag. He's a cunt and I don't like him. I think he views himself as some kind of Kennedy or Schwarzenegger or something that he's not. He's really a two-faced bastard, and I really don't like him. And I was all in favor of him being recalled earlier this year, except the people that were going to replace him, if he was successfully recalled, were garbage as well. So California, I don't know what you're doing with your politicians, but between Pelosi, Newsome, Kamala Harris, and I'm sure there's others that I'm forgetting. I mean, good Christ. Chill, California, chill. Maybe you need a little bit of Florida sprinkled in, just like Florida needs a little bit of California sprinkled in too. You know what I'm saying? You have to offset the crazies. However, when you're looking purely at Gavin Newsome when it comes to climate change, he is pretty damn good. And so I will give him the benefit of the doubt and say, as an overall leader, I give him a D minus. However, on his views on climate change, I got to give him the lowest, a B plus or an A minus. Newsome, even as the Biden administration is increasingly stymied by the Supreme Court and Senator Joe Manchin's hopes to show how the Golden State can lead the way on tackling climate change while Washington is in a quagmire. That really is Joe Manchin's middle name, quagmire. Newsome's state budget package, unveiled January, includes $22.5 billion to combat climate change. In May, he revised the proposal to add another $9.5 billion. Newsome also spearheaded the state's strictest in the nation tailpipe emission standards through a legal standoff with the Trump administration, which attempted to repeal a federal waiver allowing the rules. The waiver was restored this year by the EPA Administrator Michael Regan. California leading the way on green issues is nothing new, but Newsome has a unique chance to carve out a role for himself at a time when Democrats are increasingly looking for choices beyond President Biden. Under previous Governor Jerry Brown, California was a beacon of climate leadership at a time when we lacked it at the national level under the previous administration. Michael Mann, director of the Earth System Science Center at Pennsylvania State University, says, Here, Newsome is working with the administration to advance the cause of climate action, and the California tailpipe emission standards are a good example of that. California is setting an example that other states will hopefully follow. A number of states have voluntarily adopted California's tougher emission standards, most recently Virginia under Governor Ralph Northam, also a Democrat. Newsome also has been one of the most public Democrat critics of the Supreme Court's decision in West Virginia versus EPA, in which the High Court ruled the Obama-era Clean Power Plan was not legally authorized as a method of regulating power plant emissions. Another reason why I am completely supporting of that group paying people to tell them the whereabouts of the conservative justices. Nothing violent. We're just going to ruin their lives forever. California has historically been the one that responds most aggressively among the states on climate issues. Severin Borenstein, faculty director of the Energy Institute at Haas at the University of California, Berkeley. My God, that was a long fucking line. Under Newsome, we're doing it again with everything from grid decarbonation to electric vehicles to decarbonizing buildings, Borenstein said, as well as local initiatives like moving to ban natural gas hookups. Since the Supreme Court's decision, Newsome has increasingly framed his state as a bulwark against inaction at the federal level. While the court has once again turned back the clock, California refuses to go backwards. We're just getting started, he said. California will remain the tentpole for this movement with record investments and aggressive policies to reduce pollution, to protect people from extreme weather, and to leave our children and grandchildren a world that's better off than when we found it. California, a state where gas prices jumped to $6 and $7 per gallon in some locales earlier this summer, plans to phase out oil production in the state by 2045. The state, which would have the world's fifth largest economy if it were a country, has also formed a number of international climate partnerships under Newsome, including collaborations with Canada, New Zealand, Japan, and, China. At the federal level, chances of taking action on climate change took a serious hit last week when Joe Manchin, that thorn in the side of progress, announced he would not support climate provisions in a reconciliation package. Newsome hasn't been explicit in suggesting a 2024 run for the White House, but if Biden does not run, he will immediately be seen as a possible contender, along with Vice President, Kamala Harris, gross, Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg, gross, and Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker. I don't know much about J.B. Pritzker, but out of those four, I'd pick J.B. Pritzker just because he's not Newsome or Buttigieg or Harris. In addition to his public actions on climate change, Newsome has thrown red meat to the Democrat base with TV ads blasting Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. Yeah, but that's going to backfire. I don't think Newsome has a good approval rating, even in California, but if you ask the country, I'm sure his approval rating is got to be roughly the same as DeSantis. Goddamn, a DeSantis versus Newsome 2024 presidential election. Oh my God. I may just have to leave the country if that's who I have to choose between. Although I guess I would, being dramatic, I would absolutely vote for Newsome just because of climate change alone. I don't think DeSantis believes in climate change, but I'm speculating. I don't know what DeSantis believes in. I'm just assuming and judging because he is a Republican cocksucker. Newsome called the suggestion that in the ad, which aired in Florida, was a prelude to the presidential bid nonsensical last week during a visit to the White House, saying he was inspired by DeSantis' threat to penalize the Special Olympics over vaccine mandates. Newsome has repeatedly cast his state, which holds a Democratic legislative supermajority, as a model for concrete action. A lot of jurisdictions will talk a good game. They put out headline-grabbing pronouncements of we're going to reduce greenhouse gas emissions 40% below 1990 levels by 20 fill in the blank as a substitute for the hard work, Newsome said in a January interview with CNBC. Whether he runs or not, the California governor is likely to remain a national figure in fights over environmental regulation. Earlier this year, a coalition of Republican attorney generals, many of whom were plaintiffs in the West Virginia case, sued the EPA over the emissions waiver, arguing it violated the legal doctrine of equal protection. Borenstein called the pending lawsuit a real worry. adding, "This Supreme Court seems to think that it can sort of dance on both sides of the federal-state divide depending on what public policy it wants to endorse, rather than with a real constitutional basis. At the end of the day," Borenstein said, "as much as it's great that I think California is continuing to push ahead and will never substitute for federal action, is where we still need to address climate change." Yeah. So on this issue alone, Newsome has my vote if it does indeed turn out to be a dystopian election between him and DeSantis. Oh, God. You think Hillary and Trump were bad? Oh, boy. But speaking of the current president, that fist-bumping son of a bitch was in Saudi Arabia fist-bumping the murderer of Saudi Arabia, that MBS. I mean, just read what AOC, what Bernie said, what a lot of Democrats, too. I mean, any common sense politician that isn't running on culture wars saw that fist bump between our president and MBS in Saudi Arabia and just threw up in their mouths. Saudi Arabia is a horrific country. We should not have as many dealings with them as we currently do. But God damn it, they have oil and we are addicted. Just like the homeless people that are addicted in Seattle or in San Francisco or any major metropolitan city, this country is addicted to that Saudi oil, baby. President Biden on Saturday told 9 Arab leaders at a summit in Saudi Arabia that the U.S. will not walk away from the Middle East and leave a vacuum to be filled by China, Russia, or Iran. I guess that's good, but also, why are we forcing our shit over there? We just want their oil. And if we start investing in green energy, we can say, sayonara, you fucking asshole Saudi Arabia, fucking marrying teenagers and throwing gays off buildings. What the fuck, man? The visit, part of Biden's first trip to the region since becoming president, was aimed at recalibrating ties with Saudi Arabia and bolstering U.S. influence in the region. The summit included the leaders of the Gulf Cooperation Council, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Bahrain, Kuwait, Oman, and the United Arab Emirates, as well as from Jordan, Egypt, and Iraq. According to the officials, Biden discussed energy security, but no new announcements on oil production were made. And that's the main reason he's there, right? It has to be. The United States is going to remain an active and engaged partner in the Middle East, Biden said during an address at the summit. As the world we face grows more competitive and the challenges we face more complex, it is only becoming clearer to me how closely interwoven America's interests are with the successes of the Middle East. I think you're kowtowing there, Biden. There's not a lot of success in the Middle East that's going to affect us, you dumb fuck. Come on. He then addressed the growing Iran threat. No matter what, the United States is committed to ensuring Iran never gets a nuclear weapon. But Israel and Saudi Arabia, you can have them all. Who gives a fuck? While U.S. troops continue to carry out missions against ISIS and other groups across the region, and American troops remain deployed at bases throughout the Middle East, Biden said, "Today I am proud to be able to say that the eras of land wars in the region, wars that involve huge numbers of American forces, is not underway. But we're still there fighting." So it's not exactly true. God damn, Biden. I mean, not to keep shitting on an Alzheimer patient, but he really is looking to be one of the worst presidents in recent memory. He's not as bad as Trump, and he's not as bad as Bush, obviously, but he's probably the worst Democrat president in my lifetime. And that's saying something. Clinton and Obama weren't that special. Biden also called on countries represented at the summit, including many repressive governments, to ensure human rights and that people are allowed to question and criticize leaders without fear of reprisal. Yeah, but what are you going to do to enforce that, Biden? You can tell them to do it and then give them money and then turn your back and slap your hands together like, well, we tried something. No, you actually have to enforce that kind of shit. The future will be won by the countries that unleash the full potential of their populations, Biden said. Well, yes, Biden, but when you say stuff like that, half of those countries think men only. Biden also praised a U.S.-mediated agreement around 2 strategic Red Sea islands, which were of high importance to the Saudi officials. Well, good. I'm glad Saudi Arabia is getting more land. The deal opened the way for Saudi Arabia to announce steps toward normalizing relations with Israel, including allowing Israeli airlines to use its airspace. Well, that's good. That is actually a good thing. You do want those 2 countries, Saudi Arabia and Israel, to coalesce. You don't want wars going on, okay? We have plenty of wars happening in the world. You don't need more. Before the summit, Biden held bilateral meetings with the leaders of Egypt, the United Arab Emirates, and Iraq. Biden invited UAE President Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed to the White House Challenges you face today only make it a heck of a lot more important we spend time together. I want to formally invite you to the States, the U.S. President told MBZ. Translated, please, 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 put that United Arab Emirate dick in my mouth and let me suck out that sweet, sweet, sweet jizzy oil that your country has. We need it. We need it more than you. I will do whatever it takes to get that sweet, sweet jizzy oil out of my mouth and into the American gas tanks. I mean, Jesus Christ. I'm surprised he's not flagellating himself at their feet. On Friday, Biden met with Saudi leaders, including Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. Upon his arrival, Biden gave MBS a fist bump, drawing outrages from Democrats and others. The U.S. president once vowed to make Saudi Arabia a pariah over its human rights record, including the murder of Washington Post columnist Jamal Khashoggi. U.S. intelligence had concluded MBS was responsible for the murder, a conclusion Saudi officials reject. Biden said late Friday he brought up the murder at the top of his meeting with MBS and told the Crown Prince he thought he was responsible. Saudi officials said on Saturday MBS pushed back against Biden's criticism and said the kingdom had taken legal action against those responsible. And that was it. That was it. Biden probably said, I know you killed the journalist and I have to pretend that I give a fuck, but let's just release a statement that I said this. You can release a statement that you said that. And can we still get some of that sweet, sweet oil? I don't give a fuck that you're murdering LGBTQ and marrying children and murdering journalists. Can we just get that oil? And maybe the fun just continues. And we're going to stick with the Middle East here. We now know, right, that the murdered journalist in Israel, that Shireen Abu Akleh, the journalist I've been talking about a bunch of episodes over the last couple of months, we now know that she was murdered by the Israeli forces. We already know that. And so, much like Jamal Khashoggi, the U.S. government isn't going to do a goddamn thing. The U.S. government announced it will not hold the Israeli military accountable for intentionally murdering Shireen Abu Akleh. The U.S. State Department's pronouncement that the killing was not intentional, but rather the result of a purported Israeli counterterrorism raid gone wrong, is frankly insulting to Shireen's memory and ignores the history and context of the brutal and violent nature of what is now the longest military occupation in modern history, said the Abu Akleh family. The U.S. is preventing justice for the murder of one of its own citizens by a foreign military it sends $3.8 billion to every year. Yesterday, July 4th of all days, obviously the story is slightly old, the U.S. State Department released a predictable yet disgraceful statement claiming its investigation could not reach a definitive conclusion regarding the origin of the bullet that killed Palestinian-American journalist Shireen Abu Akleh. After analyzing both Israel Defense Forces and Palestinian Authority investigations, it did not conclude Israeli gunfire was likely responsible. However, it found no reason to believe that this was intentional and blamed Shireen's murder on tragic circumstances during an IDF-led military operation. And the U.S. government will take no action to hold the murder accountable, ensuring the Israeli military can keep killing Palestinians with impunity. For the love of God, I do not want to hear any president, past, present, or future, talk about protecting whistleblowers, protecting free speech, protecting the free press, and protecting journalists, and then we do nothing like this. I don't want to hear them talk about it, because how can you believe them? Obama said he was going to be the champion of whistleblowers, and look what he did to WikiLeaks, Edward Snowden, that person who helped Edward Snowden, she's now in jail. He was a he and he transitioned to a she, but I'm drawing a blank on her name. And there's others too. I mean, it's ridiculous. Trump continued that and Biden's continuing it. I mean, it's insanity. You can't believe anything that comes out of these fucking dinosaur politicians' mouths. You just can't. That's why we need an outsider. That's why I've said it so many times. The Democrats, the progressives, whoever, the left, they need their Donald Trump. That's just... He or she needs to be Donald Trump, but then just cut out the racism and the xenophobia and the sexism and the want to be king and dictator and praising dictatorships. Cut all that out. Think of a Jon Stewart. I know I always bring him up. I really, truly believe he would be an amazing president, even though he keeps throwing cold water on it. I hope to God that Jon Stewart runs. Oh, but it's so disgusting. It's so disgusting what's happening here. We had Khashoggi, and now we have Shireen Abu Akleh being murdered in the Middle East by our allies, and the U.S. government just says, tough titties to the kitty, but that oil's mighty fine. God damn it. The truth is that the Israeli military killed Shireen according to policies that view all Palestinians, civilian, press, or otherwise, as legitimate targets, and we were expecting that an American investigation would focus on finding the responsible parties and hold them accountable, not parsing over barely relevant details and then assuming good faith on behalf of a recalcitrant and hostile occupying power. Is that how I say that word? I've seen that word before. Recalcitrant. Recalcitrant? Can I copy that fucking word? No, I can't. Oh, shit. I think that means bold-faced liar, if I'm not mistaken. Hold on. Now I gotta look that up. Recalcitrant. Having an... Man, I have lost all of my brains. I don't know what's happening. It's a obstinate, uncooperative attitude toward authority or discipline. Okay, yeah. And that is what recalcitrant means. So I'm going to reread that again because I barely remember where I was. They assume good faith on behalf of a recalcitrant and hostile occupying power, aka motherfucking Israel. In other words, all available evidence suggests that a U.S. citizen was the subject of an extrajudicial killing by a foreign government that receives billions of dollars in American military aid each year to perpetuate a prolonged and entrenched military occupation of millions of Palestinians. We were hoping that, for example, the FBI or other relevant authorities would open a murder investigation much like they do in ordinary cases when American citizens are killed abroad. Further, the United States should take action to clarify the extent to which American funds were involved in Shireen's killing. Yeah, fucking A. To say that this investigation, with its total lack of transparency, undefined goals, and support for Israel's overall position is a disappointment would be an understatement. We will continue to advocate for justice for Shireen and to hold the Israeli military and government accountable, no matter the attempts to obfuscate the reality of what happened on May 11th. We continue to call on the American government to conduct an open, transparent, and thorough investigation of all the facts by independent agencies free from any political consideration or influence. I hope so too. But I'm not holding my breath on that one. But I got to take a little break here because my brain's about to explode because I am just enraged with that last story. But we have some lighter stuff coming up. So hold on to your shorts. Is that the saying? Hold on to your shorts? Hold on to your butts. There you go. Hold on to your butts. Last news story. This is funny. This is King Kong versus Godzilla of cunt matchups. You have, on one corner, you have the orange Cheeto cunt himself, Donald Trump, and on the other corner, you have the cyborg South African meathead, Elon Musk, and boy, are they fucking going at it. Twitter's multi-billion-dollar lawsuit may not be the only thing Elon Musk has to worry about right now. Former President Donald Trump recently targeted Musk with a series of disparaging comments online after Musk announced he no longer intended to buy out Twitter. It's unclear why the news of Musk bailing on his agreement with Twitter would set off Trump. But perhaps the former president had secretly hoped Musk would make good on his promise to allow him back on the social media platform when he took over. The two have been talking trash about each other on social media ever since. The feud between the two ignited over the weekend at Trump's rally in Alaska. Elon, he's not going to buy Twitter. Where did you hear that before? From me, Trump said to a crowd of his supporters on July 9th. He's got himself a mess. But the barbs being thrown became a little more serious late Tuesday when Trump claimed the Tesla CEO came to him begging for help with his subsidized projects back when the 45th president of the United States was in the White House. Now this isn't a tweet. This is from, what's his Twitter called? Truth Social or some bullshit? When Elon Musk came to the White House asking me for help on all of his many subsidized projects, whether it was electric cars that don't drive long enough, driverless cars that crash, or rocket ships to nowhere, without which subsidies he'd be worthless, and telling me how he was a big Trump fan and Republican, I could have said, drop to your knees and beg, and he would have done it. I think that's a pretty good Donald Trump impression. I love it, though. and on that tweet or post, whatever you want to call it, because I don't know what you want to call Truth Social, whatever those posts are. There's a picture of Elon and Trump in the White House with Trump smiling on the Oval Office, and Elon Musk is standing there very uncomfortably. He doesn't know what he was doing with his hands, but yeah, he looks like a cyborg bitch boy. Trump is referencing the billions of dollars in government subsidies Musk's companies like Tesla and SpaceX have received over the years. Now Elon should focus on getting himself out of the Twitter mess because he could owe $44 billion for something that's worthless. Also, lots of competition for electric cars. Musk responded to a screenshot of Trump's comments on Twitter with a LMAOOO followed by a gif of Grandpa Simpson yelling at clouds. At his July 9th rally, Trump continued to mock Musk for the rotten contract he signed to acquire Twitter. Trump often rants and goes off on tangents discussing random current events at his rallies, so it's unclear why he chose to spar with Musk. The Tesla CEO is now being sued by Twitter, a social media platform that Trump views as the biggest competitor to his own service, Truth Social. While Trump publicly said he would stick to his own Truth Social platform, Musk backing out and closing the door on Trump's possible Twitter return could have very well set the former president off. But Trump went even further with his taunts, calling Musk a bullshit artist for claiming he voted Republican for the very first time just this year. According to Trump, Musk told the former president that he had voted for him previously. The Tesla CEO responded to a video of Trump's comments in a series of tweets. Yeah, I don't hate the man, but it's time for Trump to hang up his hat and sell it into the sunset, Musk said of the 76-year-old former president. Also, I think the legal maximum age for start a presidential term should be 69. I don't know how Elon Musk talks. I've heard him talk a lot, and I can't get that rapey South African accent down mixed with the algorithmic Android speech pattern that he's got. Musk also insisted in a tweet that Trump's claim that Musk said he voted for him is not true. In recent months, Trump supporters have become fans of Elon Musk as well due to his comments about online moderation, bringing Trump back to Twitter and generally deriding the left. So, who will they side with in this feud? Late Tuesday night, Elon Musk shared a meme on Twitter giving people a choice of who they hate more, Trump or Musk. Shortly after posting the meme, Musk deleted it. Something tells us he may not have liked the answers he was receiving. And I saw the meme. For those of us that are in the meme-verse, it was that two choices. You have the two red buttons, and one was hate Trump or hate Elon, and then it shows like a astronaut sweating and wiping his head. The joke is a lot of people just commented, why not both? And that's the real reason why Elon deleted it, I believe. So, fuck them both. Although I would love to watch an MMA-style battle between Trump and Elon Musk. That would be pretty sweet. I'd pay about $20-25 for that. And then you can use the proceeds to give to Planned Parenthood, because those two should have been aborted a long time ago. But moving on from the news. I would be remiss if I did not mention my Seattle Mariners. I've been up and down this season with the Mariners, but I will always be a fan no matter what. And boy, has my patience paid off incredibly. The Mariners are currently in a 14-game winning streak. By the way, that is the longest winning streak in baseball history, I think I read, before the All-Star break. And the Seattle Mariner record is 15 games. So if we win 2 more, we have a brand new record. And if we win 2 more, it will be against the number 1 team in our division, the Houston Astros. That even though we've won 14 in a row, we are still 9 games out of first place. However, the good news is that because of this 14-game winning streak, we are now easily in the wild card race. In fact, we are the second team in the 3 wild card team race. And I believe we have a 1.5 game lead on the 3rd place, and we're only a half a game out of the top wild card spot. So this is amazing. Now, I know we have another 60, 70 games to go, or if not more, and that it's a little bit premature ejaculation to start celebrating the playoffs right now. But it's not just that we've won 14 in a row in just a amazing fashion. I mean, some of our comebacks have just been awe-inspiring. But We were left out of the All-Star game. We didn't have anybody make it. Okay, no Gilbert and no Ty France. Although a couple days later, they did put Ty France in because Mike Trout bounced. How funny is that? The guy that started that big-ass brawl stepped out of the All-Star game, and Ty France got to go in. Hell yeah. And lo and behold, they let that 21-year-old phenom, Julio Rodriguez, into the All-Star game. And then they said, you know what, Julio? You're 21 years old. You're a lightning bolt of enthusiasm, and fans love you. You're getting national recognition. You've won the Rookie of the Month twice already, and you've won Player of the Week already, which is rare for a rookie, let alone a 21-year-old rookie. So the sky's the motherfucking limit. We are going to invite you to the Home Run Derby. And it's just astounding, people, the meteoric rise of Julio Rodriguez. All-Star game, Home Run Derby, and he's on a team that's won 14 in a row. And, I mean, just watch him play. He's a rookie, and he's hitting almost 280. And I don't remember his stats off the top of my head, but he's by far the best rookie this year, and it's not even close. And by the way, as I'm recording this, the Home Run Derby is currently happening. And Julio Rodriguez just kicked the shit out of Corey Seager in the first round. Corey Seager hit 24 home runs. Pretty damn good. That would win most years. But Julio, he hit 32 dingers. 32. So now he's in the second round. And he's going to face the winner between Alonso and Acuna. So already he's making a splash. I mean, this guy is going to be on the cover of video games, magazines, you name it, for years to come. We really are looking at not only an all-star, but could he really be the second coming of King Griffey Jr.? I think that's a little early, honestly, and I don't think that's fair to him. But Jesus Christ, I mean, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to look up his stats because I need people to remember. Julio Rodriguez skipped a full level in the minors, okay? He went from AA directly to the bigs. And he didn't really play that much in AA, okay? In 2021, he only played in 74 games between high A and AA. So he completely skipped AAA, which, you know, even the best prospects usually stay a season there, if not more. But no, Julio Rodriguez, at the age of 21 years old, like I said already, All-Star game, Home Run Derby, twice Rookie of the Month, and Player of the Week once. He is hitting .275 with a .337 on base, a .477 slugging, and an OPS of 814. Now, you could quibble and say, well, you know, you wish that on base would be a little higher. You wish that OPS... fuck all that noise. He is a 21-year-old phenom. All right? And by the way, he's also hit 16 home runs and has 52 RBIs. Oh, by the way, also 21 stolen bases. And he has 2 triples and 18 doubles. And he's scored 95 times. The guy is incredible. He has a positive offensive wins above replacement, and he has a positive defensive wins above replacement, meaning he's the total package. At the bat and the glove, there's nothing he cannot do, and he's only going to get better, God, I'm hoping, if he stays healthy. He is he's just a breath of fresh air that we've needed in this Seattle Mariners fan base for some time. I mean, the last player that ignited the fan base like this, like I said in a previous episode, was probably Dustin Ackley, but he kind of flamed out, obviously. He's not around in baseball anymore. He flamed out pretty quickly. So that we've always had prospects come and play really good, and then they kind of flame out. But it's not going to happen to Julio. It's not. And I may be counting the chickens before they roost, or whatever that retarded saying is, but you get what I'm saying. He does not look like the same player as the Justin Smokes, Jesus Monteros, Dustin Ackleys, Jeff Clements, DJ Petersons, and the list goes on and on and on and on and on. He's going to be better than Kyle Seager, which was the best of that Jackie Z prospect crop. And honestly, on paper, he is doing things that not even King Griffey Jr. did in his rookie year, or Alex Rodriguez. So, he's a shoo-in for Rookie of the Year, okay? And he's probably going to get some MVP vote. It's not a lot. He may not get any that I think about it a little bit clearer, but again, he deserves everything. He deserves all of the accolades for what he's bringing to the team. I can only hope that at the home run derby tonight, he is pleading with Juan Soto of the Washington Nationals to please force a trade to the Seattle Mariners. Can you imagine an outfield with Juan Soto and Julio Rodriguez? And you non-baseball fans are probably thinking, Angelo, I don't give a fuck about Julio Rodriguez, and now you're bringing up some guy named Juan Soto? Yes. If Julio Rodriguez is King Griffey Jr., then Juan Soto looks like Mickey Mantle or fucking Willie Mays, okay? He looks like a Hall of Famer, and he's only 23. So, it's a great time to be a Seattle sports fan. Well, particularly a Seattle Mariners sports fan. The Seahawks, training camp's going to start here in a couple days. I am excited to see the rookies play. I am excited to look at the quarterbacks. And, we still could swing a trade. Jimmy Garoppolo is still out there. And who's the other jabroni that is now getting talked about getting traded? Oh, Sam Darnold, even though Carolina said that's not going to happen. I don't believe shit. And I think that once the Cleveland Browns knows what Deshaun Watson's suspension or penalties are going to be, you're going to see a quarterback trade or a signing in that team, and that's going to start the dominoes. Because there still is a few more teams out there that could use a second or a third experienced quarterback to compete. Besides the Seahawks, I'm looking at the Houston Texans, I'm looking at the Detroit Lions, and depending on Garoppolo, maybe even the San Francisco 49ers. But anyway, with that, I think we are done here and we can move to wrap up. In closing, I want to read you a meme that I saw, and it really helped me, and it has helped me continuously the last few weeks, really since the leaked draft of Roe being overturned. And then you had the school shootings, you had the EPA ruling by the Supreme Court, and you just had so much shit in the news. I was afraid to look at the news in the morning. And so this really helped me here. When you're not used to being confident, confidence feels like arrogance. When you're used to being passive, assertiveness feels like aggression. When you're not used to getting your needs met, prioritizing yourself feels selfish. Your comfort zone is not a good benchmark. And that really spoke to me because I was down in the dumps, people, and I had not been in this bad headspace for years. And the last time I could remember feeling like this was probably 6 or 7 years ago, right when I moved out of my father's house and my sister had just passed. I was still struggling with money. I was still feeling like a fat piece of shit. I just was not good. I thought moving out and getting my own place, my life would change. But the first few months, I realized I was still in a hellscape, and I really had to look at myself in all aspects and say, well, why do I feel like this? Why do I feel like a fat piece of garbage? Why do I feel like I'm ugly? Why do I feel like I'm going to die alone? Why do I feel like people mock me behind my back? I had all these insecurities. And so I had to just address them one by one. And really, not to sound dramatic, but I had to go to war. And what I chose to do, I would say, worked for the most part. I do have more confidence and more self-esteem than I ever remember having in my life. I have more faith and trust in the people I choose to have around me. Do I still have insecurities? Of course. I'm human after all. I mean, shit. But I can say that I'm in a much better place mentally and emotionally these last few years. However, my positive mental state has taken a massive step back since, like I mentioned earlier, the leaked draft. And this post really, really helped me. It made me go back in time, so to speak, and reminisce about my early stages of self-betterment. So I'm going to read this again here. When you're not used to being confident, confidence feels like arrogance. I fight this every single day. I try to be confident and not be arrogant or narcissistic or cocky or prideful. And I think there is a balance. But I am willing to admit, this should not shock any of my listeners here, but I can be pretty goddamn arrogant. But you shouldn't feel arrogant just because you're feeling confident. Okay, that is not a fair distinction. You are confident. That is fine. You can be overconfident, of course, but just being arrogant for feeling confident for confidence sake. No. I don't buy that. When you're used to being passive, assertiveness feels like aggression. Oh, this one spoke to me too. Now, I've never been a passive person for the most part, but in the one area where I have been overly passive is when it came to relationships. I kind of just went with the flow. I was passive when it came to coming up with ideas for dates or coming up with activities for friends. And so that was another part of my life where I tried to be more assertive. And of course, I feel like I was being aggressive. I feel like, well, if I call my friends and I push this idea, or if I just buy tickets and surprise somebody, it's going to seem like I'm being aggressive. And you know what? That's not the case. I've only been called aggressive once or twice in the last couple of years, and that's because I won't let something drop, because I wasn't reading the room properly. So, yes, you can still fuck up, but you're not being aggressive just because you're trying to be assertive. When you're not used to getting your needs met, prioritizing yourself feels selfish. This was the biggest one. This is the biggest one. This is what I felt for years as I was trying to better myself. And really, I still feel like this. I still feel like sometimes I'm a bit too selfish because I put myself first. But I have to keep reminding myself, are you putting yourself first? Is it a detriment to what you're experiencing right now? If I'm going out on a fourth date with a girl and I'm telling myself, if it doesn't happen here, then we're done with this chick. Now, that could be seen as selfish because I'm talking about my emotions, my needs, me. But I don't think that's being selfish. I think you're prioritizing your happiness and any spectrum you want to put your happiness in, whether it be emotional happiness, mental happiness, it doesn't matter. You're not selfish if you put yourself first. You are selfish if that's all you do, if you do it to a detriment to others, if you want people to suffer because they dare oppose you in something. You know, if you're too competitive to a fault, then yes, that is a level of selfishness. So again, just because you're not used to getting the outcomes that you want, whether that be in work, in your relationships with friends or family, whatever, and you finally start to push the universe. Oh God, I hate how that sounds. You start to push yourself to put yourself first. Some people will push back. Some people will call you selfish because you're trying something new. And the good people in your life, the best friends, the good family members will grow with you in this, even at their initial shock. But just because you're putting yourself first does not mean you're selfish. You can overdo it, of course, but again, not if you do it right. And I think most of us know when we're being selfish. So your comfort zone is not a good benchmark. Exactly. Because if you put others ahead of you so much, you can be overtly empathetic, overtly compassionate, and that will start to drain you, and you have nothing left to help yourself and to further your own development as a person. So again, your comfort level is not a good benchmark because you could be comfortable in the wrong positions or in the wrong situations. And I think that it makes sense to me. It spoke to me, and I hope I did a good job of explaining why it hit hard with me, because I think that statement could help multitudes, especially in this day and age of divisiveness. So if it helps, great. If I'm just tooting my own horn here and being a blowhard, fine too. But it helped me, goddammit. Now with that, we are done. So I love y'all. Take it sleazy. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. Don't be a judgmental cunt. And don't listen to the reviews of the new Thor movie. I saw it. Was it a great movie? No. Was it a fun, entertaining movie? Yes. Is it on par with Thor Ragnarok? No. Is it still better than Thor 1 and Thor 2? Hell yeah, but that's not saying much. It was a unnecessary movie, I will say that. They did not move the overall plot along, in my opinion, unless I missed something. But you know what? It was a fun movie, but it had a lot of glaring holes and very bad writing and jokes that did not land, but it was still a fun, entertaining movie, and it's better than most movies that are currently playing in the movie theater. So, if you're hoping for like a 10 out of 10 movie, Thor Love and Thunder ain't for you. But if you're looking for a I just want a little escapism, I give it probably a 6 out of 10, maybe a 5.7 out of 10, which some people say that's too low for me, and that's fine. And maybe I'm biased because I enjoy these movies, but it was a fun movie to me. But yeah, we're done here. So see you guys around the biggity biggity bend.